Welcome back to the Soft Landing. I'm your host, Cheryl D. Jordan, and this is a space where psychology, philosophy, and lived experiences meet, where we slow down long enough to examine the beliefs, patterns, and stories that quietly shape the way we live. And before we get into today's conversation, I just want to say thank you for coming back. Thank you for giving this podcast another moment of your time, your attention, and your energy. Because in a world where everyone is competing for your distraction, choosing reflection is a powerful act. The soft landing is not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. The kind of questions that make us sit with ourselves. The kind of questions that make us uncomfortable enough to grow. And today, I want to talk about something I believe almost everyone experiences at some point in life. Something we rarely talk about, something that can quietly keep us stuck for years, and that is the identity trap. The moment the person you had to become starts preventing you from becoming the person you were meant to be. The person you became was built for survival. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your life and thought, why am I still carrying things that I thought I already healed from? Maybe it's an old fear, an old insecurity, an old version of yourself that you created during a difficult season. And here's what we don't always recognize. Our identities are often created as responses. We become who we needed to become. The responsible one, the strong one, the one who never needs help, the one who always figures it out, the one who keeps everyone together. And listen, there is nothing wrong with becoming strong. There's nothing wrong with developing resilience. Those qualities can save us. But sometimes, the very armor that protected us in one season becomes the weight that prevents us from moving into the next one. Think about that. A person who learned early that they had to be independent may struggle to receive support. A person who learned that mistakes were dangerous may avoid taking risk. A person who learned that love had to be earned may constantly prove their worth. The problem isn't that those beliefs appeared. The problem is when we never question whether they still belong. Let's talk about the danger of outgrowing your old identity. One of the hardest experiences in life is realizing you have outgrown the version of yourself that everyone knows. Because sometimes the people around us are comfortable with our old identity. They know us as the person who always says yes. They know us as the person who always sacrifices. They know us as the person who never changes. And when you begin evolving, it can feel uncomfortable. Not just for you, for everyone connected to you. Because growth changes relationships. Growth changes conversations. Growth changes expectations. But here's what's important. You cannot build a new life while constantly defending an old identity. At some point, you have to give yourself permission to become unfamiliar. Psychologists often talk about self-concept, the way we understand who we are. Our brains love consistency. We like evidence that confirms what we already believe. So if someone believes, I'm not creative, they notice every moment they struggle. But they ignore every moment they create something beautiful. If someone believes, I'm not a leader, they overlook every time they guide, support, and influence others. We become prisoners of the labels we have accepted. But here's the question. Who gave you that label? And more importantly, are you still willing to carry it? Because some identities are inherited, some are assigned, some are created during moments of pain, but you get to decide which ones continue with you. So I want you to take a moment, wherever you are, just pause and ask yourself, what version of me am I still trying to protect? Is it the version who was afraid? The version who was rejected? The version who had to prove something? The version who learned to survive but never fully learned to receive joy? Now ask, what would become possible if I stopped introducing myself through my wounds? Because your story matters. Your experiences matter. But your pain is not your permanent identity. Your past can explain you, but it does not have to define you. May your next season require softer version of you, not weaker. Maybe a softer version, but not weaker. A version who rests without guilt. Perhaps a version who receives without apology. A version who creates without waiting for permission. A version who understands that becoming is not about proving yourself. It is about remembering yourself. Sometimes the greatest transformations happen quietly. Nobody sees the internal shift. Nobody applauds the moment you choose yourself. Nobody celebrates the day you finally stop abandoning your own needs. But that moment matters, because that is where your next chapter begins. So before we end today, I want you to remember this. You are allowed to change. You're allowed to evolve. You are allowed to become someone your past self could not imagine. The goal is not to become a completely different person. The goal is to remove everything that was never truly you. The fear, the limitations, the expectations, the identities you picked up just to survive. Because underneath all of that, there's still you. The person with dreams, the person with purpose, the person who is still becoming. Thank you for your company today. Thank you for spending this time with me on the Soft Landing. If this conversation resonated with you, share it. Share it with someone who may need this reminder. Subscribe, leave a review, and join me for the next episode as we continue exploring the psychology, philosophy, and lived experiences that shape our lives. Until next time, give yourself permission to land softly.